Yesterday a little bit on the upside, today a little bit low, a lot of sideways trading. What do you attribute that to?
Basically, what we've seen a lot of foreign investors really reduce their participation. Basically, I think because of the crisis going on in Egypt and also a lot of political wranglings locally. So there were fund managers and local investors maybe were a bit active yesterday, and today the market was rather stagnant, except maybe for some stocks that came down, such as Barclays. And we saw a few big trades, such as Kendall, that traded 3.5 million shares.
Right. Now, what we have seen in previous sessions is the comeback of the foreign investor who've accounted for almost 50% of trades per day, but they've tended to focus on the blue chips. Is that still the trend today?
Yes, that's still the trend. I think from the beginning of the year, we've seen foreign investors flood back into the market. They've been a bit cautious because of the crisis, as I said, and also the local political wranglings. But yes, they're still focusing the blue chips and also the usual stocks such as Safaricom, BAT, EABL going on.
All right, let's talk about those that have been very good performers in recent days. I mean, you mentioned Safaricom, you mentioned interest in EABL. There's also been some selling, though, of Co-op Bank. That was definitely what happened in yesterday's session. And that's largely due to what impact, really? Because this is a bank that's received international accolades. Its variables and fundamentals are fairly strong. What do you see in terms of trends for the commercials and the financial sector?
I think most of the counters in the financial sector, we're all expecting results in this month of February and March, and we expect most of them to post good results, especially since we've seen a lot of cutbacks in costs. So Cooperative Bank, I'd just say, was speculation because it's fundamentally it's a very strong stock and it's mostly traded by local investors. So there's a bit of profit taking, but I think we should see people troop back in as we draw closer to their announcement for the financial year, for the financial results for the year.
We do see some interest in the industrials, particularly counters like Kenneth Minjire and Kenyan. And we know that Kenneth Minjire, for instance, announced that it had acquired assets in neighboring Burundi. And then with the other one, Kenyan, we do know that they're building a coal plant near Mombasa. Given the huge infrastructure drive that's being undertaken by the government as part of its Vision 2030 and just basic demand within the economy, is industrials really where people should be putting their money?
Not necessarily. I think, Kenyan is always a very strong stock. I mean, they are the only power producer in the country. So, and it's looked at as a long-term stock. There's always a bit of speculation. It moves maybe 1 or 2 shillings, but Kenyan is a strong stock. We've seen EABL coming down, basically, I think, because of the new legislation that was passed, the new drinking laws that limit hours. But I'd say EABL is still a very strong stock, a good buy at the moment, because they'll post strong results for the year.
Let's talk about the fixed income market, which is really your area of expertise. How has the fixed income market fared in comparison to equities?
In comparison to equities, I think the fixed income market has been very active. From, let's say, the end of last week and the beginning of this week, we've seen a lot of activity. The new issues that were issued starting November, December, and January have been very active. In fact, we've seen yields come down by an average of about 20-25 basis points in the last 5 days. So the activity has been robust, and we hope this will go on. And what it served to do basically is correct the market somewhat, because the new issues were distorting the yield curves. So this has been pretty good for the fixed income market.
I mean, you mentioned the Kenyan market affected by exogenous factors in Egypt, and what we've seen generally across a range of African Eurobonds is the yield going up slightly because of this risk perception factor in Africa, irrespective of where Egypt lies in relation to any other country. Has that had a bearing on bond yields in Kenya?
Basically Kenya doesn't have a Eurobond at the moment, although it's in the works. I think what happens is foreign investors who mostly buy up Eurobonds that are issued by African countries group us as one emerging market. So, of course, with the problems going on in Egypt and Tunisia, that the risk to the sovereign debt is higher. So, of course, we should see yields coming up. But locally, The Kenyan market has been the opposite. As I said, the last 5 days we've seen yields come down by 20-25 basis points, which has not been the trend for the last 6 months. So I'd say it's been pretty good.
Okay, we do know that there's the launch of the 30-year savings development bond. Authorities trying to build up the savings capability within the country. How's the market responded to this issue? It's a 30-year long issuance, and it's the first ever apparently in history.
Yes, it is. I think the market's a bit cautious because 30 years is a long time, and it's being offered at about 12%. And 12% for, 30-year risk is 12% is pretty low, considering about a year, 2 years ago, we're issuing infrastructure bonds at 12.5%, which were 10 and 12 years. So the market is a bit cautious, but we'll see a lot of pension funds come in and fund managers. Banks, on the other hand, who are the largest participants in the fixed income market, we may see a lot of them sitting this one out.
Staying within this sector, again, Kenneth, we know the shilling is a bit flat today at 81 shillings to the US dollar. We also know that the CBK has taken bold steps to try to raise the reserves. Has that in any way supported the position of the Kenyan shilling, and where do you see the shilling trading in the near future?
The Kenyan shilling has been pretty sluggish in responding to the loan that was issued by the IMF, although they dispersed the first round of about 8 billion Kenyan shillings. But this is rather a small amount, so we didn't really expect it to affect the market that much. We expect the market to continue being rather sluggish. We may be affected by what's going on in Egypt with our tea being held up in the country, but we expect we'll just see it trading around the same levels.